The William Ferris Chorale was started by Bill and John in 1971 and has continued unabated for 4 decades. The William Ferris Chorale doesn't exist without John Vorrasi. I use the analogy of a clock or a watch, that you see the face, that's all you see. And if the face is Bill, everything behind the face, all of the inner workings of the instrument are John. He's the one making the whole mechanism run smoothly. He is the person behind the scenes running the operation. He is also the person for the longest time who was that voice that just colored this section, that colored the whole ensemble. Not just the tenor section, but really brought this Italianate, full-throttled, glorious sense of bel canto to the ensemble. And so I'm not kidding when I say without John Vorrasi there is no William Ferris Chorale, and certainly no William Ferris Chorale that's been around for 4 decades.
It was really through the camaraderie and support from the pastor at the time, Father Healy, that the chorale blossomed, that it became an additional entity separate from the church choir into an actual performing ensemble.
The chorale itself was bringing beautiful choral music to the church on certain occasions. And Bill and John both were doing the parish choir as well, so we became kind of a mecca.
Bill passed away in 2000, doing what he loved, conducting a rehearsal of the Verdi Requiem with the chorale. So for the next 5 years or so, it was a period of transition for the chorale with guest conductors, and Paul French was then appointed music director of the chorale formally in 2005. John's been the executive director for all 40 years, and he has never had, in all of these 40 years, he's never had a staff of any kind. He's never had an assistant. He has done all of the day-to-day work of a small arts organization for 40 years alone.
John Vorrasi amazes me. He was able to get those shows up. At the same time, he was writing press releases and selling tickets and designing a subscription brochure and helping get grants out the door. I truly don't know how he did it all. He is the Renaissance man. And then go on and perform. How do you do that?
I first knew John just as a wonderful singer. It wasn't until many years later that I saw him in his other role as an arts administrator. John served for a number of years on the Illinois Arts Council's grants panel, reviewing grant submissions from other arts organizations. And at those public discussions, I always thought that John brought to the table a real sense of someone who was down in the trenches doing the difficult day-to-day work of running a small arts organization, often defending his fellow choruses. And that sense of mutual support and understanding and collegiality probably helped many more choruses in town than were ever aware of it.
For about 30 years now, he's been the principal cantor at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church. And during that 18 years that he and Bill were together, Bill wrote a complete 3-year cycle of psalms, probably 150 psalm settings with John's voice in mind, and had such a transformative effect on that congregation. People would regularly and still weekly come up to him and say, "Your voice has brought me closer to the church, has brought me closer to my faith, has touched me so deeply." John and Bill together decided, not only let's highlight Bill's music, but let's highlight all of these other great American and European composers whose music we greatly admire.
One of the remarkable things about the chorale was that the choice they made of young mid-career composers or emerging composers in some cases, and it devoted an entire program to their music, which for a composer is a tremendous coup. The exposure is the kind of thing that most composers dream about.
There really isn't any other group in Chicago that part of their mission is to focus on new compositions while maintaining a tradition and a history, of course. That's something that John still continues to make sure that we're focused on. And I don't know of any other group in this wide arts community that we live in that has that focus of continuing the tradition of new compositions.
First of all, it was a thrill to have a complete program, vocal and choral, devoted to my music. I enjoyed that evening. It was a wonderful performance of pieces, a wonderful opportunity for me, and a real act of generosity, I think, on the part of both the chorale and John. I'm happy to see that the tradition is continuing.
Without John, all the time, from the beginning of the chorale, they wouldn't exist. They couldn't exist the same way. You needed his enthusiasm and the spirit of perseverance. You do it, and you do it, and you do it, and you just don't give up because there's difficulties.
I admire that John is able to remain positive in any circumstance. Even when things aren't going his way, the man can turn it into positive, and he always has a smile on his face.
He's really quite an irreverent guy, and it's that sense of humor that I think endears him with people.
Without the early contributions of John, with of course Bill, the William Ferris Chorale would not be where they're at today.
His passion for life as expressed in the pursuit of what is the beautiful.
Who would have dreamed after 40 years there is still a very special group singing the music that two men desperately wanted to be performed? John Vorrasi, the treasure that he is, did have that dream, made it into reality, and continues to this day.